Hi, and welcome to Discussion Board 3, debriefing or collective feedback, also known as methods, right, or research steps. So first of all, be excited. Please be excited. I know you just got direct feedback, and I picked apart all of your drafts for the betterment of your drafts, but be excited. Be excited. Everyone got a excellent or very respectable score. You did really well. This is a 100% online course. We never meet face-to-face. Do your best you can with online modules. So really be encouraged. Hopefully, even if you've already gotten some feedback and were frustrated and had some negative self-talk, you can really kind of build yourself and put yourself back on track. I'm really encouraged about where all of your projects are and different degrees of feedback. You know, this is the learning process in the absence of a direct lecture on on these details. You know, I put out some instructions and you follow them the best you can and kind of find your way. And then this is feedback. Again, so this is the learning process. It's trial and error to some extent, which isn't great. Which is a little uncomfortable. I appreciate that, but great if you consider what you have starting with for discussion board 3, even your lit review. You consider what I sent back to you as a good starting point for you to turn in a research proposal, discussion board 4, and then get some feedback on that and turn in, once you do discussion board 5, to contribute towards your final research project. I think you're in great shape. And I think if you stop and think about it, reflect in that way, I think you'd agree, depending on how you felt about research when we started the class. Hopefully you feel better now. So do be encouraged. Again, my grading scale. So I broke this down to a detailed rubric so I knew what I was doing and could be fair and consistent across. And then I really put a floor on it. So if you skipped a section, then you got a 0 on that section. And that didn't happen very often, or maybe once. And then I try to take off no more than two or 3 points in each section, even if you struggled with it. So without further ado, let's talk about the details here. So everyone had different areas they struggled with or some feedback. So I'm just going to talk through these. So introduction and justification. So intro, right? 1 to 3 paragraphs or 4, that's fine. Brief description of the literature. So you want to be summarizing the literature. You don't want to be describing, in the literature review it said this, and then the literature review did this, and then the literature review did that. You want to say that you're basically recapping. So if I didn't want to read your literature review, or if this was like a dissertation and your literature review was 35 pages, and I put it down, took a nap, came back and wanted to read the methods section, I'd read the first paragraph and go, oh yeah, yep, there's a bunch of literature that supports where this is going. So this is a recap. First paragraph, here's the literature review, and you want it to, you're basically pulling probably the first or last sentence out of your lit review paragraphs. So for research question 1 and the sub question and the other sub question, you want this first paragraph, intro paragraph, to summarize all the highlights of your literature review. And then in paragraph form, you list your research question, your hypothesis, your null hypothesis, and then all the sub questions. So this is it. Again, I don't need to read the first 2 pages or first 2 sections. I can just start here and know what you're doing. So that's pretty straightforward. Again, it's challenging, and you just got your lit review back, or in the timeline, there may have been some overlap there. So it's possible that you didn't get a chance to learn from that to inform the way a lit review or what I'm looking for. No worries. So you can modify that paragraph or go ahead and revise your lit review. Then take a look at it and pull out the highlights of it, right? And go from that way, from that direction. Justifications. This is probably the biggest confusion. So justification is describe your insights into the methods to go get the data. Understand there may be some redundancy from methods to the who, what, when, how, why, participants, and procedures. What I would probably recommend is that you write your participants and procedures first and get all the facts. You know, so I'll talk about that, then I'll work backwards. Participants. So just be very thorough. At this point, it's a research proposal. So I really want all the details. Participants and procedures is about replication. I mean, we've had units on this, right? So I need to be able to read this and replicate it. So if you're in a preschool, and you need to say it's a preschool, if you're in an inner city, urban, suburban, rural, low SCS, high SCS, elementary, middle, you want to try to be as descriptive as possible where the sample was taken. So the sample or will be taken. Another point of confusion was, so you're going to just do all the parents in your classroom. Well, no, you're not, right? 3 of them are going to be sick. 5 of them are going to say no, I presume. So you need to get a sense of, so here you want to be descriptive. There are 28 children or parents of children in said preschool classroom. The first 10 who agree to take the study will be the participants, or you're going to give all 28 an opportunity, and whoever says no, and you're going to take whatever you get. Those are the realities of sampling, and that's kind of the honesty that we need in sampling. So, and if you manage to get all your parents to participate, great. That would be unusual, right? And then what we learned about sampling in the last couple of weeks is that the ones who say I'm too busy or don't return the study, maybe too busy, but maybe don't want to talk about their weight problem or their child's behavior problem. So that skews your sample a little bit, which is life in research, but you'd have to comment on it. So all I'm saying is it's relevant, right? So more details on how you're sampling. So who are these people going to be? So you can go into good detail there. That's my notes. So who are they? Why were they chosen? Again, mostly by convenience, but also because they represent the best informant or whatever. And then the how they were chosen. Again, there was a little bit of, someone mentioned something random selection, and it was unclear. But for the most part, that's straightforward. Then you get to procedures. So what's going to happen? So you're all pretty much passing out parent surveys. Someone's doing a teacher classroom direct observation checklist. There's some teacher surveys, and then there's records review for the most part. So those are 3 or 4 terms that you'd start with, right? So here's a procedure. So the study will complete a records examination of all of the literacy scores from fall and winter, and for the preschool class, for the 28 or the students in the study from these 3 preschool classes, who and compare the growth. So that's a procedure. So if I have to replicate this study, I'm going to go and look at the literacy scores from fall and winter. Now, you have to be specific. So how are you measuring literacy? How are you measuring those scores, growth? Is it a particular standardized instrument? Is it words per minute? Is it, there's literacy, there's math, there's social skills. As far as that come to mind. You can measure those a bunch of different ways. Doesn't matter. Just tell me how so I can replicate it, right? And so you can be reliable. In procedures, we're really talking about how we're measuring all these variables. So all your research questions ultimately generate a list of variables that don't really appear anywhere. But as I'm going through this, I need to be connecting, so how are they going to measure parent attitude here? That'll be the parent survey. But so you'd want to say parent attitude, parent belief, parent communication will be measured through parent survey. Or the parent survey will measure these things. The teacher survey will measure these things. The record review will assess these things. And then if you need to get in greater detail, that's fine too. Some of you chose to include the actual question, right? In order to assess parent involvement, the parent survey, items 2, 3, and 4, will reflect, or items 2, 3, and 4 on the parent survey will be combined to get a total score to represent the parent involvement and to determine whether they are involved or not involved. As we're getting closer to data collection, I don't want you to be disappointed when you go to analyze this and you say, I can't analyze this. It's all narrative. Not that you can't. It's difficult to analyze. It's all narrative. Or I asked them these things and I didn't ask them this. One more sampling thing that I think applies to everyone who's doing a parent survey. So which parent? Does it happen to be the parent who picks up the student? Are you assuming, does everyone in your sample have a one-parent household? Because mom and dad may have different behaviors as far as school communication, obesity, literacy, preference towards math. So do you want mom or dad or both? And think about that. And again, we're adding layers of complexity. So if you just want to do mom, or if you want to be the primary, who's the primary person? I don't know, but then you need to include that in the instructions, right? You'd give one of the parents and say, please have the person who spends the most time at home with the child complete this checklist. Or would you say, please ask the person who's... But you need to think that through, because it's going to matter. It could matter, so you need to account for that. All right, I got to go, time-wise. All right, so justification. Justification is about why you chose these measures to... Why you chose this sample. And again, there's going to be a convenience piece there. But what's your insight? So why are parents good informants on their child's behavior? Because they are. But so you feel that you'll get good information based on a parent survey. And there's good justification strung throughout. I found a lot of it in your conclusions, some of it in your procedures. So justification, try to get it all back up in that paragraph. Basically, you're asking for funding, right? You want some foundation to fund your study. Describe why this is a well-designed study instead of not a well-designed study. So you had things like, based on your rapport with the parents, you feel you're going to get better honesty through interview instead of a survey. Great. You feel like it's appropriate they can give the survey and get it back the next week because of the frequency that you see them. Great. Parents are going to be good informants on this because they know their child this way. Great. All those things are great. You're really just describing why. So that's why I said maybe have really good participant and procedure paragraphs written, and then go back and think about why you chose that and just kind of justify it, right? All right, next section, conclusion. So conclusion, it's hard to get 5 sentences out of this. 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences is great. Again, coming back on why this study is going to be great. And a lot of it's just recapping based on this research design, based on the research questions and the sample, you feel this is going to be productive. It's going to add information in this area. It's going to add information in the sub-questions. It's going to help compare and contrast these things, which will lead to a better outcome to help people do more research or help people in practice. I mean, that's kind of the standard way to write the conclusion. Format was what it was. Needs to be in third person, not first person. And again, if you got marked down on this, it's probably because you didn't see my feedback on the lit review yet. So that's just a timing piece. No worries on a point there. Professional language, same thing. It was on time. Everyone was on time or in compliance there. So your survey research protocol. So I'll probably talk about this for the last 2 minutes of my video. So I need to see all of these before you send them out. Like I said, so to make sure you get quality responses. So think about details. And I'd encourage you just to think this through. I could have spent another half an hour on each of your research protocols with details. And this doesn't have to be to that level. But when you think about a Likert scale or scale from 1 to 5, you just want to make it really clear. Try to go through in your head, what could people put? And then what are you going to do with that information? You have to add it up. If you just ask an open-ended question that says, how much do you like math? And I don't know if any math person, I don't know if you do that. How much do you like math? Oh, I like it a lot. Oh, I kind of like it. Blank. How do you analyze that? How much does your child like to read? Oh, he likes it a lot. What does it mean if you say a lot versus this person says a lot versus that person says a lot? You want to be able to categorize it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does he like to read? Or on a scale of how much do we read? Oh, sometimes, often, never. What does sometimes read mean? Is that once a week? Is that twice a week? Is that once a month? You want to be as specific as possible and really come through clearly on these definitions. So the people know what you want, and so all 15 of your participants can answer kind of the same way or with the same understanding. So when they say, I rate this high, and someone else says, I rate it low, that's going to be meaningful. That's that reliability and validity, right? That's validity. All right. I got to go. My time is up. Email me directly if you have any questions, specifically on your feedback. I'd be happy to explain my thinking further. Looking forward to the next steps, and send me your surveys once they're revised.